right? You have to understand, man, that it's not just going to be, happily forever after at that point. A lot of people think that when they start on their journey, whether it's health, whether it's their career, entrepreneurship, you think that once you have certain information and move toward that journey, that it's just smooth sailing, brothers. That's the absolute wrong mindset to have, man. So I'm giving you a heads up, brothers. You have to understand that your past is going to come see you. You think that a part of you that has been attached to you your whole life, the people in your old circle, the old circumstances, you think that world is just gone? Contraire, moon frere. That world is just circling back around, man. It's just getting momentum. It's just recalibrating to the new you, saying, let me come back around and see if he's about that life. Every single time, bro. But when the Bible says to seek ye first the kingdom, brother, I'm gonna tell you where a lot of people miss the bus on that. A lot of people think that, when it's referring to the kingdom, a lot of people think that, once I transition, once I leave this world, once I have a physical death, then I will be back in the midst of God. I will be in the kingdom, and I will have this ultimate peace and bliss. But what you have to understand, man, you have to understand that kingdom can be obtained now. Not only can be, has to be obtained first. That has to be man's first journey, is finding that kingdom. Because if not, brother, you'll fall victim to this world, man. Find that state. Like when I say meditation, sleep, and death are all the same world. They're all the same world. It's just how deep you're submerged in it. The thing is, brother, you have to call that world your reality. You aren't praying. Your prayers cannot answer until you put boots on the ground, brother. Until you put boots on the ground. In other words, until you start the process of bridging the third dimension and the fifth dimension together, your prayers will not be answered, man. Even the Bible says faith without works is dead. Like everybody on the planet at this point has heard that in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But a lot of people are still stuck in their minds, man. A lot of people still can't make that transition to walking in that I am, man. You know what I understood too? What I come to find over the last At ease, brothers. It is a good day to be alive, man. I don't care what you have going on, brother. We must rest. We must live. We must remain always in a state of gratitude, brothers. Today, man, I want to talk about the journey of the healed man. The journey of the healed man. I can say this, man. Like, there's hands down nothing more important to me in this world than a connection with source energy, a connection with God, a connection with the all, right? There's nothing more important to me than that, right? It took me a long time to understand that taking care of my body, was included in that overall wellness, was included in that overall connection with source, brother. And I can tell you this, man. When I crossed this brother's path, I was just now willing to understand that, man. And the brother that I'm going to have on today, just really enhanced that part of my life. It made me elevate my taking care of my body and including that in my spiritual growth, right? So today, brothers, I want to introduce a brothers, man. I want to have a brother on that's, I want to get a warm at ease in the chat, if you will. For a brother that's a best-selling author, a brother that's an award-winning holistic health guru, a brother that's been a musician since his youth, a brother that's a vegan bodybuilder, a combat veteran, and ultimately a wellness warrior minister. I want to welcome Brother Supernova Slom.
Mighty one, you did not traverse this far in your life to give up now. This is when you double down and go deeper.
Yeah, Supernova, super mega meal. Supernova, super chlorophyll.
And my brother Ali Terrain, my blood brother, we formed a company. You know, we're the youngest black hip hop entrepreneurs that have our own wellness supplement company.
We've seen each other through many things. Supernova is also a holistic health guru.
What's going on, brother? Supernova Slom. Good to have you, brother.
Yes. Listen, wellness warrior salute, beloved.
Good to see you, man.
I'm so grateful to be with my brother Soul. You're doing incredible work with Immortal Minds, and you know the brothers globally are benefiting on your daily pouring in your bills. So I want to definitely give you a wellness warrior salute. Thank you for your service.
A million thanks, brother. A million thanks, brothers. First off, I wanted to say, man, like you just said, I wanted to thank you for your service, man. I'm not sure if a lot of people know it, brother, but you are a combat veteran. You served, you served this country, and I believe you were you 3rd Infantry Division?
Yeah, 3rd ID. Yeah.
Okay, I thought I saw the patch, man. 3rd ID. I'm rocking them on myself, brother.
Rocking them on.
Rocking them on, brother.
Yeah, man. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah.
And second, I want to say this, man. It's an honor. And I mean it. It's an honor to have you on this channel, brother. I was introduced to you from a sister that's a very good friend of mine here in Dallas. He introduced me to your channel, and instantly I started binge watching your content. Instantly I started, I purchased the book. So I want to say it's an honor to have you. You've blessed my wellness journey. It's an honor to have you on here, brother. Third, I want to say this. There are very few men that are moving in the energy that I would say you and I are moving, and several other brothers.
Yeah.
But there needs to be more of us. So I feel good saying it's good to be in the presence of another God, man. So just another welcome for brother Supernova Slom, brothers. Glad to have you on.
I
Now, the first thing I want to dive in, man, of course, the book, Man, Heal Thyself. As soon as I picked it up, brother, it started changing my life. Anybody that hasn't picked this book up, it is definitely life-changing. It's definitely eye-opening. But I'll be honest, man, one of the pages that stood out to me the most was probably the page with the very, with the least words on it. And it was talking about, you were talking about the creed of the wellness warrior, right? Now, Webster defines a creed as a set of beliefs or aims which guide someone's actions.
Yes.
Right. And in the book Man, Heal Thyself, it says this: the wellness warrior creed is simply purify or die.
Come on.
That was a strong statement, brother. Tell me this: out of all the things on God's green earth, what was it that took you to the bottom, or what were your 40 days in the wilderness that made wellness and purification so important to Brother Supernova Slom?
Wow. I was born and raised vegan from the womb of Queen Afua. For those that don't know, she's been doing holistic wellness ministry since 1969. Her and my father both are plant-based vegans and raised me in the traditions of our indigenous practices and medicine, holistic medicine. But my father, when he and my mom divorced in the 80s, he took his journey to the crack cocaine. Okay, so one journey with my mother doing holistic wellness, visiting my father in the projects with the pimps, the hustlers, the pushers, and the gangbangers, and the dope fiends. So that was my life as in the balance. They don't people see me through the lens of my mother. They don't know the other side that I had to traverse. Fast forwarding quickly, my father, I've had a lot of positive father figures around post my father. My two stepfathers, Reverend Phil Valentine, for those that don't know, he was my stepfather one time. And my last current stepfather is Baba Heru. He's a Kemetic priest from the studio of Shrine of Ptah. So I've always had these powerful men in my life. But my father, the foundation, the Asar, or the Osiris, he cut himself up in pieces. And then the Heru, me, I followed suit in the street life for a little while. And I rebelled against the holistic tenets. I rebelled against the Kemetic principles, everything that I was raised on. And that was my dark night. around the time I did that, my mother had released her first book called Heal Thyself. And I was gang banging and hustling, and I almost got killed, and I had to be sent down south.
Wow.
She saved my life because I was wilding in the streets of New York. That saving my life, getting away from New York on my last year of high school, I had to heal myself because I didn't have her around me, give me the green juices and the tonics and the herbs and stuff. I lived with a family that did not support plant-based vegan living, traditional Black family, traditional religion and eating. So they took me in, but they didn't support, what I was about. So being away from the streets, being away from my mother, being away from the whole cultural cipher, I had to apply the knowledge of self. And I had to sankofa back into the traditions that I was raised on and begin to shed what I was going through in the streets. I had to shed that and really get a higher signal. And so I remembered everything the elders poured into me. I remembered that at one point I was addicted to the sugar crack, what I call the processed white sugar. Processed white sugar, it comes from sugar cane in its natural state. When you heat it up, it becomes an addictive substance. So I didn't eat meat, I didn't eat dairy, but I was addicted to the sugar. And then I connected my addiction to the sugar to me wanting sweetness because I felt bitter about my father. You see how that connects? So I overindulged in the sweetness to get the feeling, to get the sensation of being embraced and being enjoyed. It was a false sense, but it started to decay my body. So in order to me, from going from decay to regeneration, I had a detox. And I remember the greens, the chlorophyll foods, the plants, specifically the chlorophyll puts the oxygen back into the bloodstream. So the sugar robs and strips the bloodstream of oxygen. Okay, the chlorophyll properties restores the integrity of the blood flow. Okay, and the chlorophyll is not only just in a liquid, its derivatives come in micronutrients such as barley, alfalfa, dandelion, wheatgrass, chlorella, spirulina, to name a few. And so I begin to get a gallon of water. I remember this. I get a gallon of water. I went to the local health food store. I got a quarter pound of the barley, alfalfa, dandelion, wheatgrass, chlorella, spirulina, and then a ginger. Ginger is also good for cleansing the internal intestines and helping to the libido. Ginger is also good for cleansing the bronchioles. So I took those superfoods and I began to shake them up, and I drank that for 7 days straight. My skin cleared up. My addiction to the sugar crack was gone. And then I said, whoa, this is me healing my mother, not my family, me taking it on for myself, owning my space. And then that was my aha moment. That was me coming up out of the graveyard of my consciousness, body, mind, and spirit. I began to do my meditation again. I began to cleanse myself and fortify my body with the chlorophyll minerals, hydrating every day, starting my physical discipline again, my martial arts and my strength training. So I began to really get back into all the elements I was raised around, because I wasn't home with the family. I had to now live it deployed. I was deployed outside of the family, right?
Wow.
Into the wilderness of life. I had to now use everything in the duty station that I learned with my mother, And so when I came back, I graduated, I came back to New York. Now I was fired up as a young man, and I called myself a chlorophyllian. I didn't call myself a regular vegan vegetarian, because at that time, most vegan vegetarians, what I called, and I talk about this in my book, The Holistic Remedy, they were called starchitarians, because most of what we're eating was carbs, you know what I'm saying? So they didn't really get into the science of the chlorophyll. And that was my aha moment. That's how I used the plants to really strengthen me. And I saw the correlation between the amino acids, the proteins in the plants, the detoxing, but building, because I was into bodybuilding. So I started to see the holistic correlation. I look around the planet, beloved brother soul. The planet is mainly water and chlorophyll, green, mainly green and water. That's the abundance. So I started to say, the more I hydrate, the more I internalize the green, I'm in tune with the planet I live on. My mother Earth recognizes me as hers, because I'm inundating myself with her, So I started to make those steps, and I was so fired up about wellness. And I started to really use my voice to be a wellness minister. At this point, I was 18. Came back. I started something called the Hip Hop Meditation Cipher when I was in the hood still. So I wanted to teach a lot of the former gang banging homies I was banging with that was still drawn to me. And a lot of brothers and sisters in the hip hop community that I was connecting with, I just started teaching them the science of meditation, breathing, and owning their sacred space, and using foods as medicine, and just really getting into the wellness ministry. And then I just went from there.
Nice, brother. That's and you covered a lot of things that I don't think a lot of people know. You covered a lot of information. It's, you know, I've heard you speak about your father once or twice, but I'm glad you shared that. But that kind of gives me a completely 360 degree view of your upbringing, man. You know, we're talking about, of course, the journey of the healed man, and I like how at the very beginning of the book you broke down the different types of wounded men, and the one that stood out to me was the common man, because I use that word a lot. And when I use the word common man, I'm really referring to a man that's kind of just hasn't connected with source energy, right? But I love how you broke that down, brother. You said where is it at? Here it is. You said a common man. You said he's a man who is normal and average. His life is complacent and uneventful. He lives safely in the bosom. There it is, here, brother. You said he's a man who is normal and average. His life is complacent and uneventful. He lives safely in the bosom of mediocrity. I've noticed that most brothers that I see that live here, most brothers that live in this state of being a common man, most of them don't understand they're there. They don't understand they're in it. They look around and think everything is normal. They think that they're high achievers. They think that they're, getting to it. They think that they're, solid men. They think that they're seeking knowledge, but they really don't understand they're in a place of being lost. On a man's journey to ultimate wellness, what is the first thing that you would suggest a brother do to, snap out of this, or to shift his paradigm to start going toward the journey of ultimate wellness?
Okay, so first we want to encourage our brothers. The first Rites, the first energy center we talk about in the book, is the family man of unity and wealth. So it all starts with your family. A lot of us men have a lot of wounds that have not been healed since we were young men. And when we were 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, we were told to be quiet, shut up, suck it, and be a man. You're only 10 years old. Be a man. So we have been cultivated not to be expressive. We've been cultivated to go through harsh realities and interactions and cover them in silence. And we have been cultivated to cry in silence and to reflect in silence. But we're expected to always show up and show out for everybody. This man now becomes 20 years later, 30 years later, 40 years later. He becomes a man in materialistic society as a successful man. But he has never grown past the wounds that were not addressed. He was never able to be his authentic self and share with his beloved woman. Most of our beloved women don't know us men. And no matter how much they love us, they don't really know us because we have not necessarily set up the stage to trust, to have the courage to be fully expressed on our journey.
That's heavy.
Why? Because we don't want to be judged. We think as men, I'm talking about the body of men, our judgment from our women, or the feminine principle, we may feel that we won't be accepted if we show our authentic self. So because we have a fear, no matter how alpha we signal, there's a fear of fully being expressed because we don't want to be judged and abandoned. So rather than risk it, we suffer in silence, we cover the hardness of ourselves, our shell, we make it even more harder, and we continue to show up and function. So the call out that you do with your beloved work, Brother Soul, and many other brothers and myself, the call out with our collective work is to get us men to show up in our authentic selves. And one of the pathways I talk about in the first Rite, the Energy Center, the foundation, is let's go back into the childhood. Let's do a meditation. I want all brothers who are listening. I want you, when you have a moment, you may be with us now, me and Brother Soul. Go visit your 5-year-old self, your 10-year-old self. The moment you felt a disconnect, a rejection, an abuse, an abandonment. As a man you are now, go to him and visualize holding the young man and letting him know from this moment, you got him. Just seeing yourself as a grown man and your young man and you embracing him what you're doing is you're crossing timelines. You're going from your present back. You're doing your Marty McFly, jumping into your DeLorean, Back to the Future, and you're going to your old self, and you're telling your young self that the future you will be doing the healing work for him, and you have him. Just seeing that, just facing that pain of that young man as a grown man, you begin to be the one that can transmute and shift, right? And then once you address it, brothers, no matter how dark and hard that view is, I want you all to forgive. I want you to forgive yourself for not being strong at that moment when you were rejected, disconnected, abused, or neglected. I want you to forgive yourself. And I want you to hold yourself and let your young self know that the you now would do the work to restore the strength, integrity, and the healing. And that's we can't do nothing unless we get there. Because once we can get brothers to free up that meditation and visualizing of their journey, his heart opens up. And when a man's heart opens up, his power opens up. See, we want our men to be powerful, full of power, right? That means I must unblock and unlock that which stops me from being powerful. Okay? Now, nothing works unless we work, Brother Soul. So we must put ourselves first in our service so we can continue to serve at a high level to our women, our children, and our sacred calling in the world.
What do you mean by that exactly? That's a heavy statement. What do you mean by that?
Well, I've been saying, look at the state of man.
Mm-hmm.
We've been serving everybody. We serve our jobs, women, the feminine energy, our children, but we are left still abandoned, disconnected, and not self-expressed. So the body of man, not self-expressed, puts the planet in a state of imbalance. This is why when the common man rules, he is in his beta state. That means he is not in his alphaship, which is of the signal of leadership. He is in his fellowship. We need to get our men from fellowship to leadership. The common man, in the beta signal, has not unlocked and unblocked himself. So he's following along. Oh, I'm supposed to serve my woman, serve my kids, sacrifice myself. So if we keep that paradigm going, we do not shift the consciousness to be whole man. So I want us to envision what would we look like if we can really begin to do the self-work and own our signal. Our service and integrity can increase. That means if you think you're serving your woman, imagine if you fully open up your heart space to pour into yourself. Your interaction with the divine feminine would accelerate because you are self-expressed, brother. You feel loved into yourself. You feel a charge. That means when you step to the divine feminine, you're already in exercise and activation of your divine masculine. And therefore, your coming together can set a opportunity for the children now to be in that. So the whole point of the Man Heal Thyself journey is for brothers to begin to embark on the journey of self and gather his pieces together that were scattered. His consciousness, his body, and begin to do daily rituals to strengthen himself so his relationships can be a better example of what he does for himself. It's not leaving nobody out, but acknowledging, like you said earlier, Brother Soul, you set up the paradigm of acknowledging source and the power to have your relationship with the Almighty. That is the relationship. That's the source. When you're doing the work in the source work and becoming a sorcerer, right? A sorcerer means I am harnessing the power of God through me, right? So if you say I'm here with divine source, it's no spook God. In order to really harness source, you have to become a sorcerer. You have to know how to synergize your sacred space to be a heavenly host of that which you are emanating. And when we can do that and protect that and look at ourselves as plants, we need to be watered. Right? That means we have to nurture that every day. No judgment. We all have a different cadence, but small steps to whole steps. If we continue to set this and stop making excuses, I call it no excuse wellness. Then our relationships, Brother Soul, with ourself will be an example for our expounded relationships with the divine feminine, our children and our calling in the world.
It's huge. And I'm glad you touched on that part about, pretty much self-love and how men, because I just had this conversation several days ago about how it's normal for a man to operate just constantly giving out without wanting anything in return and without even considering self. Like that's the journey of most men, and most men aren't even aware that that's not healthy. It's not normal. So I'm glad you touched on that, brother.
Brother, so when you don't consider self, you don't consider God.
You can't.
There is no separation between church and state in the house of man. If you sacrifice you, that means you are not allowing you to be the sorcerer, allowing the light to come through your action. So in order to really be a conduit of the Most High, right, you have to hold the signal of the Most High in you. And that requires you to be accountable. You have to be an accountant of yourself. You have to know your checks and balances. You have to know when it's time to be a giver, right? A man is a provider. That is to be one that hosts this provision is an attribute of God, right? But the one that provides provision needs to be also the one that restores that which he provides. You can't provide what you don't have, right? So you have to really be a host of sacred abundance. That means every day you have to be working on strategizing. How can I set up this body, mind, spirit mechanism to be strengthened so I can be the most powerful example of what provisions is, right? And then by holding that discipline, you teach your women how to reflect that. You teach your children how to. So now they understand, let me honor thy father. Not just saluting mother, because that is our all salute. But how can I honor my father? Then the woman says, I am excited to honor my man. And then the man is excited to honor his woman. It's not a war, right? We are together. We have to fight to come together so we can be honorable men and women. And we can hold each other to discipline. Then we can pour into the daily signal that will strengthen our relationships.
I love it. I love it, brother. You talk a lot about rites of passage, right? We're going to take a 30-second break, but when we come back, I want you to explain to us what rites of passage are and the importance of it when a man is on his wellness journey. We'll be right back in 30 seconds.
I'll share.
May I renew myself. May I renew myself. May I become strong. May I become strong. Oh, raise for me the way. Oh, raise for me the way. May I renew myself. May I renew myself. May I become strong. May I become strong. Oh, raise.
Brother, your Wellness Warrior program is amazing, man. I've seen, several clips about it. I've seen several of men, giving their testimonies about it. It's huge, man. Tell me briefly how you even started this program and how rites of passage plays such a primary part in it.
Okay, I'll flip it. Let me invert it real quick.
Okay.
To talk about the important, what is the rites of passage and why is it important? Our people, our brothers and sisters, have had the chain of command broken. Chain of command from father to son, grandfather to father to son to grandson to nephew to uncle. That man chain and woman chain has been broken due to colonialism and disturbance of indigenous practices. So the importance of contemporary rites of passage is say, okay, most of us have been growing up and as men are scattered, but all of us scattered men have pieces of what our whole self may look like. So if you bring the chain of command back, right, of how we do each one, teach one, each one, reach one, we're able to now re-empower men on the indigenous principles to strengthen him so that he can be an exemplary example of his self-expressed self as a father, as a brother, as a supporter, as a visionary, right? But he needs support because his chain of command and his lineage has been broken. So a lot of times, that a man is just to be a provider, and that's it. Like, okay, what about who you are, right? There's no space to understand who you are because we're not taught supposed and no mind, spirit. So a rites of passage sets up the paradigm.
Yeah, we got you back there, brother.
Can you hear me, brother? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
you were just
A rites
out
of
only
passage
for a few
sets-
seconds.
Okay, yeah, the rites of passage sets a paradigm to shift you from being inactive to active, right? So active duty, right? So basically, we're setting up spiritual tenets, regardless, it's non-denominational. So whatever your religious persuasion is, you bring that into a disciplined structure. So if you're a Muslim brother, Hebrew Israelite brother, you know, your Buddhist brother, your Kemetic brother, whatever your discipline is, right? A Christian brother, you bring those tenets into a holistic daily accountability schedule. So you're doing your detox and you're understanding foods and medicine. You're understanding the importance of taking herbs to strengthen your body parts. You're understanding the correlation between your thoughts and your actions. And you set up a daily schedule of how you can pour into yourself every single day while still being the provider, while still showing for your work, for your children, and for your relationships with your women. That's really, when you look at it in an indigenous way, the elders would set us up for deployment. That's what rites of passage was. You know, you go with 13, 14, 15, you sit with the elders, and they'll set you up for how to go into, you know, your relationship, how to go into the world. So since we've been so fragmented now, it's a call to action for brothers to come back into the formation, right? You know that for being Rocket Amon. We come back into formation, and we do daily disciplines, and then every 7 days we're giving instructions, and we have brothers see the report. Like, you know, I use the same thing we was rocking. I just put it in a holistic tenet, because it's military. We have to actually approach ourselves as disciplined military men of our wellness. So the same principle we use when we were gang banging and wilding, the same principle we use in corporate structure America, the same principle we use as soldiers, we want to, or Marines, bring that into the formation of yourself, of your body, mind, and spirit. And so understanding the need for a rights that was taken from us, and that we need to strengthen the chain of command of how brothers deal with each other, that is the tenet of what it means holistically to be a wellness warrior, which is a man that is saying that I make a pledge, an oath, to the higher quality of my body, mind, and spirit with no excuses. And my brothers in the formation hold me accountable to who I say I want to become, which is a wellness warrior, fighting for the integrity and protection of my body, mind, and spirit.
That's heavy, brother. That's heavy. That's heavy. You know, I love your viewpoint when it comes to alpha and beta males, right? Because you can get on YouTube right now. You can get on pretty much any platform,
Right.
And the discussion around alpha and beta males, it's a divide. You know,
Right.
it's like alphas are at the top of the food chain and betas are just left to die. But your approach is that alphas are in position to lead.
Absolutely.
Like you're bringing it all back together. It's like, okay, I'm alpha, I'm the leader, but let me give you instructions on how to move. That's a very few people are speaking from that point of view. So my question is, do you see, you know, what we're seeing as far as like on YouTube and other platforms about, you know, the pumping of the chest on what an alpha male is? Do you see that as pseudo masculinity? And how can a man identify who they should follow?
Okay, so this is the thing about the let's look at the principles. See, people get so caught up in the archetypes, they forget the principles. The principles what backs the archetype. Alpha simply means leadership. Okay, that's it. I'm leading, and I'm clear on where I'm going, right? And then the beta is the follower, right? So they're not necessarily, the beta is not necessarily a negative thing, but the responsibility of the alpha is to make sure the beta is led. So in the context of men, if you're claiming to be an alpha man, then you have to be the leadership of each one, teach one, each one, reach one. Because manhood globally is under attack. Man is our responsibility. That's what we teach in Man Heal Thyself. Man is man's responsibility. It's not the woman. The woman will never save us. The women provide a circumference. They're the womb. They're the containers. But it's up to us as men of our ilk and men all around the globe to come into some type of formation and understanding to strengthen each other and rebrand the concept of man. The concept of man has been disrespected. This is why we now have, respectfully, transgender. because brothers have been so wounded by men, they don't want to be men no more. They've said, I'm leaving manhood, right? And it's not an attack on those brothers, but that's the fact is, when a man says, I don't want to be a man no more, there was a wound that was never addressed. That was a man that was left on the battlefield. Those transgender brothers who become women are our brothers that we abandoned, and they left the manhood. So that tells me, it's not me being mad at them, it tells me, what can we do to restore power and manhood? What can we do to restore care and love in manhood where our men are not abandoning manhood? That means we must support all alphas. We need all leadership, and you know this, brother, in our chain of command, strengthen. And wherever we see brothers that need support, then we make sure we set up an accountability matrix and keep them accountable to setting up daily protocols to strengthen himself, because all betas in them have the seed of the alpha. The thing is to teach them who he is and the power of himself. And then he can go from following what society said he was and begin to awaken to his alpha consciousness. Because all the brothers, wherever they may be, man is man's responsibility. If me and soul are squared away, it's just me and soul squared away. Women are still dealing with undeveloped men. They're still dealing with wounded men. So even though me and soul are squared away and setting up a paradigm, me and you are still being judged in the body of man, because the body of man has been poisoned. The body of man has been not healed. So the call to action, beloved soul, is saying we need millions of men into the formation of holistic wellness. We need brothers fired up about self-care. Not, oh, I'm caring for myself, that's feminine. Well, okay, guess what? The planet is feminine. The cosmos is feminine. You came through you was raised in a feminine womb. It's all feminine. But that is the femininity does not decrease your masculinity. It is a sacred complement. So I receive that as feminine. Exactly. Women lead the signal of self-care. That means we can learn from them, take what we observe for women caring for themselves, and then we can put it in a man signal that we can hold each other accountable, and we can strengthen brothers. Wherever man is at, we should be there on the front lines to cover them and to remind them that they are sorcerers of the Most High. And it's up to each other to square each other away and to restore the power, the integrity, the spiritual discipline of global manhood. It needs us, dear brother.
Facts. Man, I love the way in the book, and for y'all that haven't checked the book out, man, Heal Thyself, it's powerful. It's powerful. I'll leave a link to the book as well as the wellness warrior program in the description box. But I love the way you talk about that awakening. I love the chapter where you were talking about the intuitive man. I love that part. You said this when you described the intuitive man. You said this man is fully awakened. He navigates the journey within. He lives in spirit and by the spirit. My question to you is this, brother. Like it's a journey to get to that place. It's a long road to get there. But once a man gets there, how can he maintain that? Meaning with all the media, with all the just the negative, or I say low vibrational energy around us, with all that we see and encounter every day, what rituals must a man put in place, or what actions or disciplines must he include in his life to maintain that level, brother?
He must know first that he's valuable. We talked about it earlier. You know, if you say that you're a son, shining one of the Most High of God, whatever you call the deity, that means you must protect that state at all costs, even from yourself. And this is why we hold brothers accountable to set up daily rituals. You know, in the book we laid out, it's all laid out. Brothers just have to do the work, right? So you do your prayer work, you do your altar work, you set up your paradigm for your ancestors, and speaking to the intuitive self. And what it does is it awakens your inner voice. Another thing that most men ascribe just to women, being the ones who are intuitive. We have the same gifts that our women have. They're just dormant. They're not awakened. So when you practice self-care and you begin to, first, men have to unblock. Again, like I said, since we were young men, we were taught to not show. We were taught not to expose. So we have to get comfortable and confident with actually being fully self-expressed and standing in our God signal. That's what that comes from, right? You have to really be able to stand on that and be a beacon, be an alpha leadership of saying, this is my authentic self, and this is how I'm holding myself to this accountability. Now, the subtitle is The Wellness Warrior's Journey to Self-Mastery. It's a journey to self-mastery. That means even when you become the supreme man of optimum wellness, which is the 12th Rite, the clock strikes 12, farther time, moving farther through time, right? The clock strikes 12. But once you now a fully activated supreme man of optimum wellness, you have to protect that. So the same rituals and disciplines you were doing every day, you have to find ways with all of the things in your life to not make excuses for your wellness. This is why we did the Wellness Warriors Oath and Creed, okay? Because the Oath and Creed lets you know the creed is this is the way of life. This is what I'm living by. The oath is this is what I'm swearing myself to. The way of life in which you're swearing yourself to is your wellness. It's just your wellness. It's a tuning fork back to yourself, right? So when brothers understand that they are valuable and there's no separation between church and state, they are the sacred divine masculine, then we must do everything we can to arm ourselves to be defenders. That's why we say we're warriors. We have to fight every day to maintain that balance and to find that equilibrium and fight those sedentary lifestyles and habits that are not adding up to your whole self. And will it be easy? No. Will you become a supreme man and be perfect? Absolutely not. The clock resets. So you're gonna have to now go through on another level. It's like Mario Brothers video games.
Yeah.
You beat level 1, you still gotta beat level 2. Mm-hmm. Even if you beat King Koopa in Mario Brothers 1, guess what? Mario Brothers 2 comes. So now you got another game to fight. Yeah. That's our lives. And if we can continue to understand that the Most High has given us the resiliency, the tenacity, and the power to forge ahead, this is why we set up brother accountabilities like yourself and others to hold us to that signal. So when I see Brother Soul's ministry through this Immortal Minds podcast and I catch your clips, that's my tuning fork. You know, if people see me, I'm their tuning fork. If we see other brothers doing healing work, we become each other's global network of men in action of healing. We're men in action and healing, and we're in activity. And it's not going to be perfect, but every time we're able to come into alignment and we see another brother doing the work, it's a tuning fork to bring us back home to ourselves. Mm-hmm. Did I answer that?
You did. You said a word that stood out, and that's accountability. So you know, going you know, on this journey of being a healed man, going from a wounded man to the intuitive man or the alchemist, like you put it in your book.
Yeah.
How important? Where does accountability rank in as far as assets that a man must possess, and why?
Okay, so I have this test that I tell people that you should do. What's called the wellness audit. Okay, talking about accountability. I want every brother listening to this. You're gonna set up a scale from 1 to 10, and you write down in each aspect. So your finances, the financial man, where you at, rate yourself. It's not perfect, just like today. Let's say you're at a 6 and your goal is to get to a 10. If you're at a 6 today as your financial self and your goals, then you become, that means you're accountable to where you at right now, right? And then you write next to that, which your next 30-day, 90-day, 60-day goal to go from a 6 to an 8, right? And then you hold yourself to that. Same thing with diet. Okay, you want to be plant-based, want to take your herbs, want to detox. Let's say you add a 3. And the next 90 days, you say accountable. Account means where is my money right now? My energy. Where am I at with my money right now? With my wellness goals. Okay, I'm eating bad. I'm only at 3. In 90 days, I plan to go from a 3 on my scale to a 7. And then you list, this is how I'm going to get here step by step. Not perfect, but I'm going to take these small steps to whole steps. And you go through your spiritual, your meditation discipline. You go through your emotional, where you at with your heart. Did you going through a divorce, going through a breakup? Where you at with women now on a scale of 1 to 10? Are you angry? Are you upset? You create your wellness structure and accountability structure, and you give yourself an audit. In order to have an account clearance, you must audit yourself. So this is the wellness audit. See where you at in the emotional state, financial state, physical state, while you're doing your exercise and strength training, running, with you at a 5, you want to get to a 10, give yourself a 90-day window. If you give yourself a 90-day window and you look at the different states of where you are, your economic state, your spiritual state, your physical state, your emotional state, use the scale, be honest and accountable where you are today during the scale, set up a 90-day clock, and slowly move up that scale. And keep doing that for the rest of the year, right? Because you may be at a 10 in April, but life happens, in your wellness journey, and you may physical fitness, you may go back down to a 3 because something happened. But you set up a wellness audit in your accountability clock and go, okay, where am I at today? How do I fall off? What do I need to improve? And then slowly make steps back to your supreme man of optimum wellness. And that if brothers follow that, and again, the book is a good guide to use. If I just gave y'all who don't have the book, you can just use this, what I just said, and trust. It'll be transformative. Give yourself 90 days.
Valuable
90 days
tool.
is a season. 90 days is a season, right? So if you start right now in January, 90 days from now, we'll be in spring. From spring, we'll be 90 days into the summer. From summer, we'll be 90 days into the fall. You see how that works?
Man.
Use the clock of nature. And I guarantee you, brothers, you will shift. Ashe.
Brother, that's powerful. That's powerful. Someone asked the title of the book. It's Man Heal Thyself. Man Heal Thyself by Brother Supernova Slom and Queen Afua. Powerful book. Powerful book. Brother, that you just gave us can transform a man's life completely
Brother,
in a year. In 90
brother,
days.
So in 90 days, brother. So if we live by that wellness audit I just said, it's nothing you can't tweak. And look, you know what? And brother, so you know what's dope about that wellness audit is that it's not about judging you. See, this is the thing. We're not judging no brother where you at. All brothers come into formation. You know how we was when we was at Fort Stewart? We had to be accountable for our battle buddies. It's the same principle with wellness. We had to check on your battle, see how your battle's doing, make sure everybody meets at formation. So the commander didn't care what state you was in, how late you got up, get to formation. And that's what we're telling brothers. Let's get to formation for the call of man. Okay, we are the glorious sons of God, right? No matter what we call deity, we are the mighty sons of Source. Let's get to formation. Let's hold each other accountable. Let's do our wellness audits without judgment, and let's get better, be better, and let's collectively rebrand the power of man.
That's beautiful, brother. That's beautiful. Brother, I want to say again, thank you for carving out a portion of your day, man. I know you have a million things going on. Thank you for making time. I want to say thank you for the impact you've had on my life. Thank you for, and I'll follow your story. You've had an impact on not only a lot of people, a lot of high profile people. So again, brother, I appreciate you making time, and it feels good to be in the presence of another God. But brother, before we close out, I want to ask you a question.
Yes, brother. So
I want to know one person that's changed your life, whether living or alive, whether living or crossed over, and why.
My mother. My mother was the first wellness warrior. Because when we were little, she was everything that we experienced in the military. She was my commander, the sergeant. She was the master sergeant. She was the general with this wellness. She gave us our green tonics 3 times a day. We had to eat live food. She detoxed us when we were constipated and blocked. She put us we had to meditate. We had to do our movement meditation. She had us in African dance and martial arts. Like, she set up a whole wellness paradigm for us. And she had me teaching everything that she poured into me my first teaching was when I was 11. I did my first class. I had to teach Tai Chi, yoga, and meditation. And I had 60 students. I started teaching when I was 11. So wow. She put me into the work. She put me out here, and I'm because of her thrusting me with that discipline, I'm blessed to attract beloved brothers like you on the journey as a fellow wellness warrior doing your amazing work with the Immortal Mind Brothers. So listen, we're all brothers, man. We're all doing this work. And like I said, I want to really give a wellness warrior salute to all of my brothers in the Immortal Mind formation. Wherever you brothers are at, my charge to the brothers in the Immortal Minds formation is that you double down on the ministry that Brother Soul is channeling, and ignite other brothers into the ministry. We need as many brothers into the Immortal Minds ministry as we can get. We need, just like the same thing I tell brothers in the Wellness Warrior Formation. Wherever man is in pain, that is our aim. Because our brothers are ourselves.
Facts.
And the more we can help to restore the integrity of our brothers, we rebrand man, and globally the women will honor us because we honor ourselves. So we must continue to combat the Willie Lynch, light skin, dark skin, older, younger, you from this side, I'm from that side, you doing this. Listen, I don't have no beef with no brothers. If you're doing the work, let's work.
Facts.
And because I have my signal, I want to be a compliment to you, right? And so I'm holding this formation. Where's your formation? Because one day we'll be able to bring the Wellness Warriors, the Immortal Minds, all the different. Can you imagine that all these different wellness brothers around the world will be able to converge as the example for our nephews, our sons, and then they will have now wellness fraternities. 100 years from now, they'll be speaking of Brother Soul from Immortal Minds, Supernova Song, Wellness Warriors, and they will be the new future thought leaders to take us into the next phase. So wherever you are, brothers, let's continue to be Muhammad Ali.
I love it, brother.
Let's all be the greatest. Let's be
yeah,
the greatest.
No doubt. Where can they follow you, brother? Where can they support you?
They can find. Yes, family. Please, I'm on all handles on all social media. I'm here on YouTube at Supernova Slom, SupaNovaSlom. If you go to Instagram, follow me there. You can also click the link to the bio, and you can go into queenoffour.com to sign up for our Wellness Warrior Formation. We have brothers that are joining us for the spring semester. It's a 12-week online training. So wherever you're at in the world, you can join us, and we look forward to having you. And then you can get the book. Man Heal Thyself is on Amazon, and also for those that are detoxing, I have a book called The Holistic Remedy. If you want to understand the science of detoxing, plant-based medicine, plant-based cleansing, even if you're not vegan, if you just want to get more plant-based and understand what the science is, you can also use that as a tool.
Yeah, you had a lot of high-profile people speaking well on that book and testimonies in that book, brother. Very powerful, man. Very powerful. Brother Supernova Slum, brothers. Thank you for joining us, brother.
Brother Soul, appreciate you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Brothers, like I said, we first started. Wellness is just, we talk about higher levels of understanding. We talking about plugging in closer to source and being better. Taking care of our bodies is a huge part of it. And like I said a second ago, man, like it's just the latter part of my life where I'm starting to merge the two worlds together. So again, let's take our wellness serious and understand that, quote unquote, Rome wasn't built in a day, that it's a journey, that it's a long, satisfying, and rewarding journey. So brothers, let's keep that in mind. Thanks for all y'all that joined. Thanks for all that gave the super chat. Thanks for all that commented. It's your brother Soul Immortal. And as always, I'm out.